Today I'd like to demonstrate how you can build a simple and inexpensive model that is effective enough to communicate to the viewer how a proposed building will be laid out and what kind of materials may be incorporated into it. Although some might argue that it's not necessary to construct physical models in the 21st century, given the role that computers have assumed today, I'd argue that the average person still likes something tangible to look at in real life. So as you can see, I've already drafted my elevation plans and have prepared the floor plan onto my model's foundation. I've designed this project so that there is a 1-to-1 scaling ratio between the elevation plans and the floor plan of the model itself. So the first thing you might consider when building a model is the context of the building's immediate environment. What I mean, of course, is that the proposed building will not exist in a vacuum, and neither should the model. If you have an idea of what the building's footprint is going to be like, it's always nice to include a little green space, landscaping, and parking in the model. So be sure the foundation for your model is bigger than the footprint of the building itself, to allow space for these features. Next, identify what kind of materials will be simulated on the model. You might not necessarily want to represent every single material detail that will be incorporated into the real-life building. Minor details may change between conception and construction, and attempting to demonstrate too many material details can potentially be distracting and make your model look too busy. Try to identify the main materials that contribute to the building's character and stick with those in the model. So based off of these elevation plans, I'm going to stick with just a few simulated materials for the model's exterior: red clay brick, cement, glass, and metal, of the sheet and corrugated variety. Now, because where I live there really aren't any shops that specialize in model building, and because the cost of model materials can be expensive, one of the main purposes of this video is to demonstrate how to create realistic modeling materials with your computer and standard supplies. The first two materials I mentioned, red clay brick and concrete, can be created easily with Microsoft Paint. The bricks, really, are nothing more than dark red rectangles, like so. To make these in Paint, simply create one small dark red rectangle and paste in an appropriate pattern. The results, when printed, aren't really a far cry from what you might get from prepackaged modeling bricks, minus any mortar embossing, of course. To simulate the texture of cement, which is the second material I mentioned, select the spray can tool and apply alternating layers of brown and gray shades over a small area of the screen. Once you've achieved a look you're satisfied with, simply copy and paste your master pattern to create a bigger spread. Again, the results are realistic enough for our modeling purposes. Next, I'm going to adhere these textures I just printed out onto foam core, simply using all-purpose Elmer's glue, and we'll do the same thing with the cement pattern. Next, referencing your floor plan and your elevation plans, transfer the dimensions of your various wall segments onto your textured foam core. Okay, the next thing you want to do is use a straight edge and an X-Acto knife to cut out the piece that you have drawn onto your textured foam core. It's important to be sure, to make sure that is, that the knife you're using is as sharp as it can be, and you want to cut using repetitive, shallow strokes. Just remove some of the excess there. Cutting in this way will result in the smoothest edges. You'll repeat this process as necessary for all of the wall segments. Okay, making windows is a fairly simple procedure. First, of course, you have to determine the area of the window which you'd like to cut out. Okay, once you've done that, select and cut out a piece of transparency paper to act as the glass of your window. Apply a small amount of glue lightly around the perimeter of your cutout. And apply the transparency paper. Just like so. I find that cardstock is a very effective modeling material for creating window frames and lights. So I'm going to be using it today to create the frames and lights for my window here. I'm going to apply some of my concrete texturing to cap the bottom and the top of the window. And then we'll add the framing on top of that. Now for the lights. You could do this part with Sharpie, honestly, but just for the sake of consistency, I like to continue to use cardstock. And there you have it. That's the simple way to create a window on your model. Alright, now I'm going to try to demonstrate a way to simulate corrugated metal, which on this model is going to be employed for the roofing. So what I did is I ran to the store and I picked up some chrome silver poster board, standard 20 by 30 size. I have this cut out to fit the dimension of one of my roofs. I think I picked up the whole poster board for like $1.50, so it's very affordable. But this effect is really effective. So what I'm going to do, using a straight edge again, always using a straight edge, going to use a number 2 pencil, and I'm going to start scoring it once with the pencil. And then I retreat to the left, and I repeat this process until I make it to the end of my paper. But what this does is it simulates a corrugated roof. I have a finished one over here. You can see it does a very nice job of, well, looking pretty realistic. Alright. Oh yeah, it's got that nice corrugated texture. What I'm going to do next is mount this onto a piece of, what do you call that? Mat board. Alright, now I've got all the pieces of my model cut out, so now comes the fun part, putting it all together. Okay, so the model is okay as it is, however, it would be enhanced aesthetically with some landscaping. Now there's all sorts of different options you could select from for landscaping. For this model I'm just going to keep it simple. I have some black construction paper for the pavement, grass mat obviously for the grass, and then a couple of trees. Remember, of course, to make the roof removable, so you can still see all of the layout features on the inside. And there you have it. That's how you can cheaply construct a model building using basic materials